couple of things on Greenland, because that's about to be invaded by America, and it's exactly what colonialism. It's colonialism happening in real time in front of our faces, and I don't think anyone on the right can deny that anymore. They're not even going to try, because it's blatantly obvious. I mean, the government's Trump is just saying it. So let's not pretend. But we're going to hear from Hasan Piker, because whenever I show him, I get a lot of hate from his haters just from showing him. And I've got 25 subscribers. And by the way, like and subscribe. And yeah, he's going to look at Greenland. And then we're going to look at a quick clip of Don Lemon, and where protesters went in, and if you haven't heard, they found out that there's a pastor who works for ICE. And so protesters went to the church in Minneapolis, and Don Lemon was there. So we're just going to have a quick look at that. Okay, just bear with me. Here we go.
All right, whatever. I'll just get started on this.
And allies who oppose a U.S. takeover of Greenland. Trump posting on Truth Social that 8 of our NATO allies, including Denmark, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, will face 10% tariffs starting on February 1st, adding that those tariffs will jump to 25% in June until a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland.
Pull out of NATO if it doesn't help you acquire Greenland. If it doesn't lead to
Well, we're going to see. NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very badly.
The president refusing to back down from his months-long pressure campaign to control Greenland, saying anything less than that is completely unacceptable, and has not ruled out the use of military force to take the Arctic island from our NATO ally, Denmark. A bipartisan group of senators now in Denmark trying to cool tensions.
We cannot allow this to become a partisan matter. We just simply cannot.
Do Greenland take President Trump's threats seriously?
Very seriously. In fact, they're alarmed. Danish political leaders are preparing for the possibility that the United States, instead of being a close and trusted ally, might become an adversary, and they're gravely concerned.
European leaders outraged over Trump's tariff threat. Sweden says they will not be blackmailed. France says no intimidation nor threat will influence us. Those countries targeted with tariffs have sent small groups of military forces to the island nation in support of Denmark.
Greenland's not for sale!
It comes as thousands march through the street of Copenhagen today in protest, many waving Greenland's flag, holding signs reading, "Make America Smart Again" and "Hands Off." And demonstrators brave the cold in Greenland, making their message to the president clear.
We are not interested in being Americans.
Now, President Trump insists the U.S. needs Greenland.
Dude, I love that. That's like my funniest takeaway from this entire thing is when they just keep saying over and over again, this is a fate worse than death. Like whenever they keep going, we're going to die. We don't want to be American. Please don't make us American.
That's Indigenous people all over the world. That's the view of Indigenous people all over the world. Let's not make them let's not get it twisted here. That's why you don't see Indigenous immigrants or refugees. They will just die on their land, because to Indigenous people, it's inconceivable. That's why they have to be forcibly removed. because, that's why you don't see very many Indigenous tourists travelling around. That's why you don't see Aboriginal people, going on package tours and package cruises. We just stay on our land. That's all. That's all it is. And like for Aboriginal people, we have a belief that if we don't die on our land, our spirits will be restless and will never find peace. So, yeah, we have to be on our land. The urge is like primordial.
We hate the concept of becoming American. Please, 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 please. And I get it. Like it's so real. It's so real because it's like you literally have healthcare. Like imagine having healthcare and all this other shit. Like you have at least some semblance of a social democracy. And then America comes in and is like, we're just going to take all of that away from you. Have a TikTok now claiming to be Chinese. Americans don't even want to be American. Yeah, me. And to be fair, like I can't even blame them. I can't blame them. It's dog shit. My favorite is Kaya Kallas from the EU talking about China as Trump gets ready to annex Greenland. China and Russia must be having a field day. They are the ones who benefit from division among allies. If Greenland security is at risk, we can address this inside of NATO. Tariffs risk making Europe and the United States poor and undermine our shared prosperity. We also cannot let our dispute distract us from our core task of helping end Russia's war against Ukraine. I don't think you understand. Trump is doing what Vladimir Putin is doing. But because it's Trump doing it, you have to still find a way to be like, no, this is not you. This is not you. It is him. Like, what do you mean? Trump is literally doing what Vladimir Putin is doing, and he's doing it to an area where, like, he's doing it to your western flank, okay? He's not even coming from the most eastern territory. Some of those territories you have historically relinquished, right? Control over. So he's doing it to the part that hasn't been done, that hasn't been done to before. Like it just, Callas is the worst diplomat the EU has ever produced. This guy's still doing it for the love of the game. Respect. China Daily EU Bureau Chief Chen Weihua. Callas is the worst diplomat the EU has ever produced. Of course, she's no diplomat and knows nothing about diplomacy. She just wants to help U.S. grab Greenland. That's why she has never condemned or even mentioned the U.S. for the threat. She considers the threat a flirtation. Tragic. She should be fired now.
What did she say? China and Russia must be having a field day. They're the ones who benefit from divisions among allies. If Greenland security is at risk, we can address this inside NATO. Tariffs risks making Europe and the United States poorer and undermine our shared prosperity. We also blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, yeah. And you see this. China's going to start. China sees that America's losing its mind and going on an idiot crusade. So it's getting more vocal because it has to, because no one else can. And yeah, this is the changing world. People, and especially people here in Australia, need to realise that America is a threat to us. I'll repeat that. America is a threat to us.
It's so funny, like Trump every day is like, I'm gonna Greenland. I'm gonna get with my penis. I'm going to take my hands and put them all over Greenland. I'm gonna molest it. Okay, and EU leaders are like, imagine if China were to take Greenland. Think about how scary that would be. And it's like, brother, Trump is the one who's doing it. Trump is the one who's saying it, and he's doing it, and he's in the process of doing it. And you're over here imagining like, well, what if China did this? What do you mean? There's one country doing this right now. This isn't you, Trump. It's exactly him. This is what he's been doing to everyone, okay? Jason Hickel says, It's wild that the European leaders are deploying troops to Greenland to demonstrate they're serious about ensuring the security of Greenland against China and Russia, when it's blindingly obvious that the threat is emanating not from China and Russia, but from the United States. And this threat is very serious indeed, not only to Greenland, but to all of Europe, and indeed to all of Eurasia and Canada too. Because like, if Trump can do this to a NATO country in Europe, why wouldn't he do this to Canada? Like, he's just going to keep doing it. Like, what is stopping him? If there is no international, if there's no international consensus, if there's no like rule abiding in this process, then he can do it to anybody else. He needs to be stopped at some point. Okay. If he gets Greenland, then Canada's next. Okay. And this threat is also very serious indeed. So what's funny about it is that at least Mark Carney seemingly is a little bit more aware of this. And therefore he just straight up went to China and was like, let's do some deals, right? Like the language coming out of Mark Carney.
Australia needs to do this and build up defense ties with China. That's going to be a controversial take, but we need a lateral sort of defense.
Is unironically more adult and more cognizant of the moment that is imminent than the European vassal states, because the European vassal states are running around like headless chickens, basically, acting as though what is unfolding in front of them in broad daylight is actually not happening, and that there's actually a much more dangerous, grave threat. And that grave threat is China, right? Canada would be bordered by the U.S. on all three sides if he takes Greenland. What would stop him from arguing that it's pointless for Canada to not become a part of the U.S.? Exactly.
That's a good
And it's
point.
so funny that like at least Canada recognizes the threat, but seemingly Europe does not recognize it at all. Is World War III is Canada going to be the Poland of World War III? Is that what's going to happen? As China tries to like build a coalition of the willing, like allied forces against America's axis of evil, they will just like piece up Canada a little bit in the same way that they did with Poland. The Molotov.
That he's just described what's happening. He's just described the state of geopolitical politics. If not, it's not happening. It's building up to that, for sure.
Ribbentrop of 2026 is going to be over Canada as they try to drum up enough manpower and the forces to be able to combat the Amer-Israeli Nazi regime. Is that where we're at now? Because I'm going to tell you right now, guys, as an American citizen, okay? I'm an American citizen. I say over and over again, this is my home, right? And I want to fix it. But we are the Nazis in this situation. Like, we are the bad guys in this situation. Straight up. People, I think, don't want to recognize that. They find that to be, confusing, where you're like, well, this is my land. This is everything I know. This is my home. But, like, we are, in this equation, we would be the Nazis. It's a hard pill to swallow. I know. New Axis, U.S., Israel, and still Japan. True. I mean, it's not even that crazy to consider that the new axis would still be Europe while Trump is taking up pieces of Europe. Like, look at the way they're replying to Donald Trump's posturing here. I'm serious, man. This is going nowhere good, okay? And the threat is very serious indeed, not only to Greenland, but to all of Europe and indeed all of Eurasia. European leaders need to grasp the fact that the U.S. is ultimately a hostile imperial power, which is fully ready to inflict extreme violence in pursuit of its geopolitical objectives. The primary moral question is, of course, the sovereignty of Greenland. But in purely geopolitical terms, having the U.S. control a huge chunk of land so close to Eurasia is dangerous to the whole continent, and European leaders should be working with their Eurasian neighbors to prevent this. It's crazy that they just have nothing. Like, they have no pushback. They have nothing. They can't say anything. They can't do anything. At least Canada, I think, recognizes the danger. Hear how Carney speaks. No drama, just business in a matter-of-fact tone. A lot of people think the collapse of the rules-based international order will be a dramatic moment like World War III. In reality, it will be banal, bureaucratic-like transition from the old world to the new.
In the public remark, Prime Minister Brian Platt with Bloomberg News. Yesterday when you met with Premier Lee, one of the things you said in the public remarks was this partnership Canada and China, this new partnership, sets us up well for the new world order. What did you mean by that? What is the new world order?
Well, it's a great question, Brian, because I think the world is still determining what that order is going to be. And let's be clear what we're talking about first and foremost, which is what is going to govern global trade? What is the role of the WTO going to be? How important are bilateral deals such as the one we're developing, plurilateral deals, if I can use that term, Trans-Pacific Partnership, potential linkages between Trans-Pacific Partnership and the EU. Where is financial regulation, payment system regulation going to fit into that? All of these aspects, I use fancy words like the architecture, the multilateral system that has been developing these is being eroded, to use a polite term.
Here, I'll translate it for you to understand. Donald Trump has taken his sweaty orange dick and rubbed it across every fucking previous norm and deal-making process that ran the world post-World War II. A new design was put in place post-World War II around the globe. And for that relatively brief period of time, post-World War II until now, surely there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of struggle, especially for the global South and everybody else. And no one really ever gave a shit about them, obviously. But things were quiet, okay? Things were quiet in the home front for the countries that matter, the countries that are in the imperial core, whether it be Canada, Western Europe, Australia, Five Eyes. These countries experienced prosperity and a moment of relative quiet. Now, that moment of relative quiet, given how short the lifespan is of a human being, is actually a very long period of time for us from where we're standing. It's actually a very short period of time when you look at the greater arc of history. Okay? Donald Trump is fucking up white people's money. Donald Trump is fucking with white people. You know who else fuck with white people? Adolf Hitler. Okay? That's it. Simply put, Donald Trump is fucking with white people. Okay? There comes a time when, a country decides, actually, we don't have enough colonies in the global South. It's time to fuck with white people, okay? For Adolf Hitler, it was other Europeans. Whether they were Jewish or whether they were Slavs, he was fucking with other white people. Donald Trump's doing the same shit right now. And just like with Nazi Germany, it does take a while for a bunch of other white people to come to terms with that reality and to maybe try and stop that. Okay? Because, as is the case with Austria or Vichy France, it takes a while for white people to get there when they're like, okay, maybe we can deal with this. Maybe we can play ball. Maybe we can be united. After all, we're all white, It doesn't work out. It never works out. In his eyes, Slavs and Jews weren't white in general. I know, but it's still the European continent. Do you understand? That's why there's a difference between all of the colonial violence that took place in Africa, for example, the continent of Africa, or the global South in general, as opposed to what Adolf Hitler did in the way that the Western world receives it. This is the thing that I'm trying to get across here. Hitler wanted to be an artist and Trump wanted to be a reality TV star. There's parallels. I mean, that too, for sure. Are we officially in the code gay ass timeline? We are, by the way. And we don't even have cool ass mechs too. It's also closer to Fallout lore if you think about it, because in Fallout, the battle that is being waged is not even against the USSR, but against communist China. It literally is, and in Fallout, America does take over Canada because they want to secure the pipelines in an effort to fight over Alaska against China better. So it is actually closer to the Fallout timeline than anything else. NBC News, Donald Trump is privately ramping up his focus on another target in the Western Hemisphere, increasingly complaining to aides in recent weeks about Canada's vulnerability to the U.S. adversaries in the Arctic, according to two U.S. officials. it's just like, it's one of those crazy moments where like, you have to by force, you have to either wake up, and if you want to maintain some semblance of sovereignty, look to different security partnerships, or make the calculated risk of just being a further vassalized by the United States, right? Like, and you know, whatever bounties that come along with that, you know, whatever benefits that come along with that, like losing your fucking social safety nets and having to say the Pledge of Allegiance and whatever kind of dumb shit that Americans do, you have to deal with.
Cut, use another term. So the question is, what gets built in that place? How much of a patchwork is it? How much is it just on a bilateral basis? Or where do like-minded countries in certain areas? So like-minded countries, just to be clear, doesn't mean you agree on everything. Aspects, for example, on digital trade or agricultural trade. Climate finance as another area. To move into areas of geostrategy, geosecurity.
Appeasement doesn't work with Trump. They literally signed a trade deal with him, and it lasted a couple months before he blew it all up. His word means nothing. That, and also, if it is might is right politics, right? If we're living in might makes right, then you have to lean into other great powers around the world to make it more costly for America to do this kind of stuff. Because if you roll over, they're just going to keep going. And by they, I mean, actually we. I am an American at the end of the day.
We'll have different coalitions that are formed. So what this partnership does is in areas, for example, of clean energy, conventional energy, agriculture, as we were just talking about, and financial services, which we've talked less about, but the evolution of the global financial system, the role of the renminbi over time, the evolution of cross-border payments. I know it all sounds very dry, except for your organization, which I think takes an interest in it. These are important elements of how the system is going to work. And look, the expectation is that rather than these being developed necessarily through the IMF, WTO, and other multilateral organizations, it is going to be coalitions that develop them, not for the world, but for subsectors.
Chat saying China, Omega lol, they ain't doing shit. Chat saying China, chat talking about nukes. Okay, listen. Let Donda is album of the decade chirp in the chat, because he's about to be vassalized entirely as a Canuck cuck. Okay, considering that they're about to be the next state in the United States of America, let him talk his shit. You know, at least in the interim, you get to have an EV fleet and maybe some high-speed rail projects potentially if you're lucky. You know. But it's coming for you, you know? Enjoy your bagged milk before we get over there and decide that shit's illegal, and it's raw bagged milk only. He isn't wrong, though. China isn't doing shit. I think, my home country is like 90% Chinese BYD. So here's the thing, okay? Also, my home country, bitch, I know your ass is in Canada. The fuck do you mean? Am I wrong? Aren't you literally in Canada right now? Donda is album of the decade? Am I wrong? Anyway. Genuine takeover and occupation of Canada would require genocide and or mass internment that Americans have never attempted. Do you believe Americans could actually stomach that next door in a majority white country with the same language as shared online platforms? I think the Canadian takeover would probably be more akin to like a Vichy France style structure, and then resistance networks that form in the aftermath. Like, you know, it wouldn't be like straightforward war and... It would not be like a straight up hot war or like a serious battle or something like that. It would just be, there would be just an insurgency movement, an ongoing insurgency movement alongside like the Canadian government also trying to stand in an effort to maintain stability. An important piece on what you're talking about. Beijing pours cash into Belt and Road financing and global resource grab. What? I mean, this has been going on. The Albertan HVAC business owner's fifth column. Are we seriously talking about this? I mean, these are very weird times, man. I don't know. Yes, you would definitely have the Quebecois partisans as well. You would absolutely have like a Quebecois separatist movement, because if there's one thing that the Francophones don't want, like if there's one thing that they would fight against, absolutely, it would be American dominance, because it's even worse than the Anglophone Canadian dominance, you know? you would have the Alberta separatist movement or the Alberta Unionists. The Alberta Unionists will be the forefront of demanding that America take over Canada. They would try to present it as like seceding from the previous union under the banner of the British Empire. They would try to make it seem like it's a real revolutionary war, but this time against the Queen or something. Okay? And the Quebecois would be fighting aggressively against any sort of American takeover. Or not the Queen, sorry, King. You just play for extra time, buy time, keep Atlantis in the U.S. close, and hope Trump will find something else to obsess over while you prepare. You don't decide to go, fuck it, we leave the fence. Yeah, no, that's the calculation that's happening currently. At least Mark Carney is smart enough to try and hedge his bets, though, by leaning into China a little bit. But that's what's going on here. They are hoping that, like, the problem takes care of itself or Donald Trump stops paying attention, you know?
National security reasons, citing activity from China and Russia. But many experts and lawmakers say there's no immediate threat, pointing out the U.S. already has the ability to increase their military presence on the island through a long-standing treaty. Janae?
All right, Selena, thank you for your reporting on that.
So I think Trump doesn't know about Greenlandic people. We don't
Yeah, so this is, I believe she's a Greenlander. I'm not going to say, I'm not sure if she's a member of a politician there. But, yeah, so I don't know. I'll have to confirm that. So, yeah, don't take my word for it. But yeah, we're going to get basically the Indigenous view.
really value cash and Kardashian lips and fake boobs and stuff like that very highly. Actually, you cannot even own land in Greenland. You can get an allotment for your house and then you own the house on top of the land. But Greenlanders don't believe.
Don't tell. No, he's going to say it's communist. We got to liberate Greenland from the treacherous communism. Anti-Piker post popping off. What is this? Oh, God. He's meet a lot of Canadians. The government thinks is the ability.
And there. So it's a big miscalculation that he thinks that Greenlanders would be incited by cash or something like that. We're not. And even if you were to say like $100,000 per person or something like that, we wouldn't give up free health care. We wouldn't give up free education. We wouldn't give up being a part of Europe. We wouldn't give up on our sovereignty eventually. And we're a very sovereign people within the Kingdom of Denmark. We're autonomous right now. We do not want to be rich like the Americans are. See how greedy they are. They're even trying to shoot their friends or invade their friends just for greed. And we know that there's minerals and oils possibly in our underground, and that's worth so much more even than that. But even if we didn't have that, we would still not be bought. So everyone here knows about the Inuit in Alaska and all of the native tribes, Indians, American Indians who are there. Their land was taken from them and they haven't been treated that well in America. And we know that Trump is very much surrounding himself, at least with the white power people. And we are not white, as you can see. We are of color.
Bro, she's hitting all the worst notes. I swear to God. She mentioned that they have a communism in Greenland, okay, over land ownership rights. And she said they're not white. Is so, like, she's not wrong. And I totally understand what she's saying. But, like, Trump hears this and he's going to be like, oh, bet. Like, we got to take it over. We got to take it over. What do you mean there's indigenous people there? What, there's Indians there? Snow Indians will take it over. Trust me. Well, bet. That's what we did. That's what America does. Like, he's going to come in like that. And they're communist. We got to take them over. I saw they have face tattoos. Very scary stuff.
And so we know our rights probably would be taken away. And we also know that we're very good, as mentioned before, we have free healthcare, we have free study. Whatever you want to study, you can do that for free. And actually, government will give you money to study. So while you're studying, you're getting a grant from your government.
Sounds like socialism to me. Trump's going to hate that.
So all of that we wouldn't trade for, like the welfare state, we wouldn't trade for anything in America. But also, you have to remember...
I don't understand. Just go lay on the fucking... I put the rugs down for you.
We're going to fast forward through this stuff. I want to hear what this lady says.
Or more in terms of being interconnected in that way. So, and we're also seeing a lot of protests in America right now that is unsettling, with the ICE agents who are sort of going after a lot of people. And
Greenland isn't up for grabs. I agree.
He's going a lot after brown people, and we are considered brown people, as you can see. So, yeah, we would rather stay with Denmark. Thank you. America has had up to 17 bases here, and they have closed them all down except for one, the Bidufik Space Base. And America could amp up the base presence, their military presence, and even their military capabilities here all they wanted to. So that is not the argument. And of course, everyone in Greenland knows this. We may not be many, but we read, we're educated, and we know about the news of the world, right? Actually regarding our own country. So we know about the treaties that we have with America. This is very much akin to when you have a dog sledge team, when he's using that analogy, and one of the dogs all of a sudden turns around and bites you. You have to take it out of the kennel. You have to take it outside and shoot it. Of course, we're not going to shoot Americans. We're peaceful people, but you cannot trust that dog anymore forever. America has 10,000 soldiers who are for combat in Arctic society. Finland alone has 35,000. We also could impose if we wanted to escalate stuff, we could also impose dropping all American treasury bonds, right? That would hurt. We also have, when you look at France and Canada and all of the allies that are coming to our rush right now, a very big arsenal, actually, of soldiers.
Yeah, all this stuff is crazy. It's not happening. I mean, I'm going to be honest. It's just not. That seems the most insane thing, right? I feel like if it gets to that, it's over. America is just going into hot war and killing a bunch of people, right? The reason why I say, or have been saying since Liberation Day, that Europe needs to recognize what fucking time it is because as an American citizen who is very familiar with Donald Trump, I know where we were eventually moving towards, okay? I don't think Europe understands what time it is. You can't do this without another great power on your side, because with another great world power on your side, you could at least increase the pressure that America is experiencing to make it impossible, to force their hand into not making a dangerous move that...
Yeah, so that's what's going on in the world, and I'm going to look at what's happening here with Minnesota and Minneapolis and Don Lemon going to a church. This is just going to be finish up and see how, if you don't know, an ICE agent got exposed as a pastor of a church, and so protesters went to the church and called out these fake hypocrite losers, these apostates, the scum. And to all the Christians, all the fake Christians who sit there sitting in judgment of others and sidling up with Nazism and thinking that's Christianity, fuck you all. As a socialist Christian, you can go fuck yourselves, and you are absolute disgrace. You are apostates, and you must be driven out of all Christendom, because you are Nazi scum. And you're not going to cloak yourself in religious iconography and use Christ's words to basically kill black and brown people and anyone who disagrees with you. So, having said that, let's check this out.
Pull up more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there. And then we disrupt business as usual. So that's what we're about to go do right now. Demanding justice for Renee Good and letting them know that this will not stand. They cannot pretend to be a house of God while harboring someone who is directing ICE agents to wreak havoc upon our community and who killed Renee Good, who almost killed a 6-month-old baby. Enough is enough. I am a reverend on top of being a lawyer and an activist. So I come here in the power of the Almighty God.
Tell us why you.
Yeah, so if you want me to do a video on that and discussing the theology of that, and I'll just leave you with this. The demand for a sign. Now, this is from Matthew chapter 16, and to give you my bona fides as a Christian socialist, because Christ was from Palestine. That's the church which these IDF bombed and murdered the parishioners. These churches that you see in Gaza were from the 1st century. These are the churches that were founded by James the Greater, the brother of Jesus, and Peter himself. And so, it's outrageous that these Nazi fascists get to larp around as Christians when they know nothing. They never quote Christ. They never ever. I never see these hypocritical scum quoting Christ. They always quote Paul, who was a dickhead. So yeah. So he says the Pharisees and the Sadducees came and to test Jesus. They asked him to show them a sign from heaven. He answered them, when it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be stormy today, for the day is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signal, the sign of the times. An evil and adulterous generation asks for a sign, but no sign will be given to accept the sign of Jonah. Then he left them and went away. And that's where the expression sign of the times comes from. It's from Christ himself. And, do with it what you will. But, our Lord and Saviour was Palestinian. So, fuck MAGA. And fuck MAGA Christians and their fake Nazi bullshit. So yeah, that's me. If you made this far, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Hype that like button.